Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon with Brandon One Pickups.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We have got a very special show for you tonight. We're glad that you're listening. We're glad that you've chosen to spend a little bit of time, at least an hour of your time listening to us ramble on about awesome guitar gear. And tonight we have not only a very special guest, we've got two very special guests. And not only do we have two very special guests, we have two very special guests with a very special story that they're going to tell and an announcement. Without further ado, special guests, who are you?
Alex Scaraldi,
Jordan Collins.
and we are Coppersound Pedals.
Fantastic. Coppersound Pedals, old veterans of the show, if you will. We had you guys on a long time ago, and you've been, if you've got one of our flashlights, a pedal board flashlight, that's their doing. So good on you for coming up with that thing. Fantastic. And, oh, by the way, if you're interested in one of those, just head on over to the Guitar Knobs Patreon, patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, and you can find out a little bit more about it. Tony Baloney, what do we do on the show?
Well, we love to talk about gear.
Yep.
We like to talk to the people who make this gear. And specifically, we like the boutique gear. Things like guitars and pedals and, amplifiers and pedal boards and accessories and all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, though, we do like to do a 101 show where I think Jared enjoys the most. Is that true, Jared?
Learning time is always fun.
Yes.
Learning is fundamental.
That's right.
Learning is fun. The mental.
The mental.
Yeah. So
that's what we do. That's what we do.
That's well said, Tony. Thank you very much.
Well, it wasn't that well said, but
and so we've got and for everybody's understanding, we're still in the midst of this mess. The semi-quarantine, whatever. Jared and Tony and I are not in the same building, which breaks my heart every single week. It does, because I miss these guys terribly. Coppersound Pedals is not in the building either, nor would they be, probably, because they're in Massachusetts. So, boy, oh boy, I can't even tell you how hot the story is that we're going to bring on y'all tonight.
white hot. They'll be white hot.
White hot.
Presses for it.
Yes. And but before we get in there, we've got to, if you've listened to the show, you know how this is going. If you haven't, well, you're going to find out how it goes. So we got
all aboard the crazy train.
We got a couple of announcements real quick. We want to say a big fat thank you to Correctamundo Rode mics for providing the Roadmaster Pro. Roadmaster Pro. That's like a exercise equipment or something. I don't even know what the hell that thing is.
That's an old Buick.
Hang on. We want to thank Rode for the Rodecaster Pro, this awesome machine that captures our voices every week, and for the Procaster mics, which also captures the voices every week. That's just going to be the theme of my show. I'm just going to,
Capture and release.
Capture and release. Tag and
right.
release. So, hey, listen, if you are interested in dabbling into the podcast world or just recording your own voice at home for just, session recording at your home sessions, I should say, or anything that, warrants something like this is a good thing to have. And you should check them out at Rode Mic. All right. We also want to do a little shout out to our own YouTube. Hey, people. For a long, long time, we've been people going, why aren't you guys on YouTube? Why don't you have your episodes on YouTube? And we have. They've been old. But just, you know what? I bit the bullet and said, all right, we'll get them up there. And so now every week, these episodes will be available on YouTube. There is some glitch where I think we're missing like 20 episodes from the signal. I'm not really sure why. They're older ones. I don't know that, you'd stress too hard about that, but we will be trying to get it fixed. But in the meantime, as you're, working out and doing whatever and watching the YouTubes, you can listen to our show, and we hope you like it there too. Oh boy. Gentlemen, how many is this? 5 of us.
5 of us.
Let's get into what we have going on in our music worlds this week. Tony Baloney's going to kick us off, and then we're going to hand it over to Alex Giraldi and Jordan Collins. Sorry, I didn't know why I gave you the fancy pronunciation.
Jordan, French.
Jordan Collins.
Jordan Blue.
That's another pedal name. All right, Tony.
All right, so let's just a few years ago, I think it was at one of the NAMM
Be wary
shows.
of any story that starts out with a few years ago, by the way.
A few years ago, a friend of
Especially
mine
from Tony.
No, I was there was a book called 108 Rockstar Guitars. I think the author is Lisa Johnson, and she's also the photographer. And this book I saw at the NAMM show, like I said, a few years ago, and I said, "Oh my God, it's beautiful." I mean, the photography is beautiful, and it covers 108 guitars from various rock stars that you might imagine. Even some guy from up in Detroit, I think, has a guitar in there. Anyhow, I saw that they recently released a soft cover version. But as I did some research, I found that the softcover version is smaller than the hardcover version, which means all those beautiful photographs are slightly smaller. So, but I did a little looking around. What? What are you giggling at?
He thinks the weirdest things are funny sometimes. You have to excuse
Just
him.
keep going.
I'm just going. You've ruined my train of thought.
Again
and again. So I checked the usual suspects. I went to Amazon, and they didn't have any used books, and that's kind of my thing. I hate paying top dollar for books when I can find a used book for a lot less money. And just to give you an idea, this book is about $108 for the hardcover.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's not a cheapie. But so I found one on eBay. Went back and forth and couldn't negotiate a good price. So my last ditch effort, there's a website called ABE Books. It stands for I think American Book Exchange. And I've bought all kinds of really cool stuff, all starting from back in 20 years ago, whatever. And they had a seller that was selling the 2 brand new ones for $65 plus some under $5 shipping. So I ordered one up and got confirmation today that it is shipping. I can't wait to get it in my grubby hands so I can see it again in person. But I guess the lesson is check around, because there's always deals to be had. And if you like books as much as I do, American Book Exchange, abebooks.com, is an excellent place to search.
Awesome.
Good things come to those who wait.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, Socrates.
That's so great to you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's hear from Alex and Jordan.
Yeah, so actually, I was talking to Plato, I think, this week. Well, just like so
Well,
Tony
you
and
must
I
have been
must
really
have-
high.
Tony and I have been living parallel lives, I think. Yeah, so my musical world has been, like, outside of the pedals and stuff, has been kind of a continuation of the last time I was on the show, which I did the 4 on the Floor based off like a folk blues concept director that I've been working on. Since then, I had moved twice, so it's been harder, but I actually recorded a few months back, I think I recorded 15 rough demos of the record that I'm eventually working on or going to be producing with Jordan here. Mm-hmm. So most of my music world has been grabbing my acoustic guitar. There's a barn that's like a screened off barn at the new house I moved to. So I've been kind of trying to, anytime I can sneak away and kind of, get a stool, a glass of water, and my acoustic, and I'll just go out to the barn and I'll just kind of pick away. A lot of my like philosophy and practices for writing are, let me just grab the guitar and see what comes out. I'm going to sit down at least for 20 minutes and just kind of see what happens. And sometimes the magic happens. Other times it's like, never played those 3 chords before. Or again, you know what I'll do? I'll capo. That'll be fun. Put it on the 3. Let's change the key up 3/2 steps. So that's kind of been my music world of just like kind of going over those songs that I wrote about a year ago and did a rough demo of, just kind of like relive them a little bit, because it's still kind of fun having a finished song to play, even if it's outside in a barn, and then just kind of like, all right, staying in this zone because it's conceptual and everything. Let's see if I can get something else. Nope, not today. But then other days it's like, oh, break out the pen. You know? So that's kind of been my musical world. It's been a little slow on that side because of guitar pedals and stuff we've been working on, but kind of slow and steady because it's not a main thing for a lot of us, but it's something that we're really passionate about and we have a lot of fun. So we kind of treat it as like, you know, a side hustle, even if we're never like officially going out to do anything with it, you know?
Yeah. We talk about that all the time, the way that music comes to us. And, you know, I've mentioned many times in this segment where, you know, I mean, it can be like right before you're done and you're disgusted. You're like, man, I didn't get anything out of this. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I had a very unsuccessful session and was getting ready to put the guitar down, and my fingers accidentally raked this like noise. And I was like, well, that was interesting. And then I put the guitar back on and made a song out of it. And I was like, I can't believe that almost didn't happen.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool how that stuff happens with it's fascinating stuff.
I like
happy mistakes.
I like when it's at a weird time. The other day, Jordan and I were wrapping up in the shop. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And before we were leaving, I was like, I'm going to plug in my guitar because I've been playing electric. And I plugged into the Flint, which was on my 4 on the floor, my favorite pedal. Mm-hmm. And it has a dry out and a wet out. And in the wet out, you'll only obviously get the wet. I put it through the Pog for an octave down, did 2 amps. So I had a just wet octave down. Then I had the regular Flint reverb. And I was like, ooh, oh no, I have to leave in a minute. Oh no, this sounds really cool. And I'm kind of starting to do something I've never done before, but I have to leave, but I can't leave. You know, I got to kind of play through this, and it's making me play something I haven't really played before, or a style. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, you kind of have to be true to yourself as a person and somebody that tries to create stuff to be like, you know what, I'm going to have to do this. You kind of have to go through that motion.
You just made me think of something, that you should have a pedal called the Car Wash Auto Wah. I'm an idiot, but that was. Oh boy, please just make one.
Car Wash Auto Wah.
Oh man, I'm stupid.
Our whole marketing campaign will be for like Ben Affleck to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh man. Oh golly. I don't know why that was so funny to me. Okay, sorry. Jordan, please, go.
Absolutely. Go. Absolutely. So lately I've been trying to revive some old demos that I've been putting together in my little studio at home. I tend to kind of get pulled in a bunch of different directions, as we all do. And it's sometimes hard to find time to really give, you know, these songs some of the time that it needs and deserves. So I've been trying to pull these together and working on some recording stuff, retracking some guitars and going back. And it's always funny going back to like old demos you've done, like even within a year. You know, sometimes you go back and you're like, oh my God, I would totally do that different. You know, so it's kind of always trying to figure out what's going to be fresh and what you're going to be happy with. But I've been doing a lot of that, and I've been doing a lot of drum programming at home. Unfortunately, I don't have a real kit at home, but I've been really getting into that new Get Good Drums from the guys at the Periphery guys. And those samples are just really, really great for what I'm trying to do. So it's good. I got that hooked up to my Electro kit and just figuring out like the mappings and the different channels for that stuff. Just trying to make some better demos, stuff like that, and doing a lot of tracking.
There seems to be an awful lot of that right now. Where the more and more I see people doing electronic drums with or sequencers with pedals and stuff. I mean, I know it's not new and it's not novel. It's been going on a long time, but it just seems the frequency of those posts are so much more, maybe even in the last couple months. And maybe I'm just getting hit with an algorithm. I'm not really sure. But.
I know. I think you're totally right. I mean, within the past, like easily a year to 2 years, it's always just like there's so many prog guys doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll see a ton of that. And I almost seem cliche in a way, but some of the things that I'm doing is, the drum samples that they provide is they're really, really great. And I think they were recorded very well, so if there's anything you can use to speed up the creative process, I'm definitely a fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'd definitely love to get in a real studio and do, real drums when the time comes. But yeah, as far as that, you're totally right. I feel like everybody on Instagram, YouTube, it's always they're programming drums. I think just because it's an accessible way to get your ideas out, without and decent sounds without necessarily having to go to this crazy studio with an amazing room and engineer. It's easy for somebody to make a decent demo on a laptop now, and it has been obviously for years. But I think I'm definitely an advocate for somebody or for anybody that's trying to speed up the creative process, and however they need to get there. All power to them, use the tools that you need to do.
Absolutely. If I may take a side alley really quick here, you brought up something which, the drums, the drum beats, right? I like watching a lot of the drum stuff that comes on Instagram. I'm a huge fan of my own drummer, so I like drums. And when they had something that came out recently that's called is like dead drums, right? And dead drums is just muffled drums, drums with like a fabric pad on it, which is kind of more common in like funk kind of beats and like I guess you could say maybe some like Motown sounds a little bit, but now it's like, hey, here's all the dead drums tones in a box, right? And it made me think about when you have certain things that come out in audio, and then sure enough, like 6 months later, now we've got this huge trend of all these songs gonna have dead drums in it. So then 2021 is the year of like all the songs have dead drums in it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a trip how that stuff works. Like when reverb like really blew through the roof, everything's got like massive reverb on it, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't like that before.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, people catch on and then all of a sudden their stuff is ambient, like ridiculous amounts of it, Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That's a great point.
It's interesting. And if you're the person who, this was actually one of our 4 on the floors recently, which is, if you're the one who comes out with that pedal that basically puts a little blip in the music timeline of life, that you caused that blip, how special is that? Or,
super. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe, maybe. I'm just saying. So
you disrupt the natural order.
Yes. Jared, how about yourself?
Glad you asked. So
Finally.
yeah, I mean, so today I learned how to send a big giant box of pickups to Finland. Well, basically, I learned how to send a big giant box out international, and it was a big pain in the butt. I'm used to just sending a few sets at a time out with mail, and it's really easy, and I've been doing it for over a decade, but it's the first time I sent a big box out UPS. So got the big box last week, all ready to go.
Are we talking about like a wood crate or just a large?
Just a large cardboard box, about 40 pounds, full of pickups. I mean, tons of pickups. It's a distributor in Finland. So they send me the, I tell them the box dimensions and the weight. They send me the label to stick on it, and then I have to fill out this SED form. And she said, well, I'm working on it right now, and I'll send it to you, and then you can. I'm like, okay, great. Well, maybe I thought, well, I'll just take the box and the label to the store now, and they'll print out an SED form, and I'll just fill it out and send it. Well, no, that didn't work. The lady's like, no, you have to get her SED form. And so I left with the big, giant, heavy box, brought it home, waited around a week for the form to be sent. I got the form, so I grabbed a couple copies of the form. I had to have 4 copies of the invoice. It's just a pain. And I grabbed everything, went back out to UPS. And then I started to fill out the SED where I'm supposed to, three boxes where she wanted me to file. And it wanted my IEN number. So those of you who don't know, that's your tax small business number. That's your tax ID number, for your business. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to go back home and get this number. So there's trip number 2 down the drain, right? I'm like, I'm leaving everything else here. And the guy's like, yeah, okay. I'm getting pissed. So the guy's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. That's cool. So I came back and got the forms, and then I filled the forms out on the computer. Thought I'd be Slick Rick and not have to handwrite it all out. So I pressed print, and all 3 forms came out with nothing on the form where I'd filled it out. Man. So I'm like, I'm screwed. I can't win. So I went ahead and wrote everything out on all 3 forms, went back to UPS, and finally got it out the door. And man, did I feel good when that was all done. And now it's going to be, a one trip, because I know how to, it's a pain. I know how to do it, but gosh,
I think next time they see you pull up, they're going to flip the close sign on you real quick.
I know, man.
Guy yelled at us.
I'm an impatient dude, man. And it took me 3 times to get it right. And they give you this pouch, and you put the whole book of paperwork in the pouch on the box, But a cool thing that's happening now, though, is I decided to do a little show of my own called Rewind Time with Brandon Wound Pickups. And look out for the first episode.
It's on VHS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Betamax.
And if, the patrons get Blu-ray copies. No,
Laserdisc.
Yeah.
No, I'll put it on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to get the first episode out around the time that this episode airs.
That's
so
fantastic, man.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thanks. Just a little show. It's not going to be all super awesome like this, but it's just a little
way to sell
show.
it.
I mean, hey, listen, I'm not going to spend 3 days editing the thing,
Yeah.
So it's just going to be my fat face and showing you guys pickups and showing you before and after. It's going to be great.
All right. I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
I'll talk to you like you were there, and it'll be weird because you won't respond.
That's right.
Oh boy. Well, thanks for sharing all that stuff with us, Jared. As for
how about you, Todd?
Me, I was checking out the Goodwood audio audition this week. I'm thinking about this because what we do on the show, we talk to people and they send pedals. They're like, all right, well, let's plug this in. Well, it would be nice. Usually I have to unplug my board to work that in so that I can go, what does it really sound like? First of all, with my own sound and the sound that I play, normally in my band. I will also always just play them by themselves and, try some other stuff. But, anytime I have to dig into the board, is anybody who's got a pedal board, it's like rather not have to do that. And this is something that would allow me to not necessarily have to do that, which is kind of cool. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with that. Alex, Jordan, you guys familiar with Goodwood Audio?
Yeah, I think they're from originally from Australia, and then they recently moved here to the States.
That's correct. That is correct. And I believe their prices are better now.
Yeah.
As a result.
I don't know if I heard this or I was just making it up, but I feel like if a majority, because I feel like we're like a lot of countries and places have like the boutique world, but I feel like the USA is very predominant in it. And I could be wrong on that, but I'm wondering if they were selling so much to America and if they had any ties here. And I think they moved to like the Nashville area.
Probably. That's where everybody goes.
I guess when in doubt, if you're going to uproot and transplant, that's the way to go. But yeah, they make a lot of cool stuff. Mostly like when I think of them, I think of like their junction boxes, utility stuff, their cables, their really cool setups, nice and clean wiring and stuff like that.
Yep.
Similar to what, not the drinking John Snyder, but John Snyder from Creation Music does.
Right. And not to imply that John Schneider, has a drinking problem.
No, not the is a drinking game John Snyder, but is that Creation Music John Snyder, because they are different. I don't think you've actually ever had both of them. We know both of them, and I talked to both of them. The John that's from our area more, obviously.
Right.
I don't think we've ever had them at the same time. They might be the same person.
Ooh.
And we just don't know. Just at NAMM, you're able to see both.
Like Santa and Satan.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, interesting.
Cool company.
Yeah. So, if you're trying to solve some of your, I guess, some of your needs, if pedal board related, and you're like, I wish I could make this do this and go around this way and come out in two different things or whatever, that is a good company to check out. So I'm going to look at it a little bit more and maybe check them, maybe get them, maybe I'll get them on the show.
Get them.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. How about this?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Jared.
Yes.
Okay, quick. Tell me 3 awesome things about Tour Gear Designs patch cables.
Number 1, they are small. Number 2, there is no pedal configuration that they do not fit. Number 3, they are extremely durable and very, very, very they're very dependable. Right, Tony Baloney?
I believe that is the case.
Yeah, I have several of those. I have extra ones that I haven't used yet. I bought several at a time because, I knew I would want more.
You're going to need them.
They're that great. Yeah.
You're going to need them. I did the same thing. I said, okay, I definitely need these. And I just got more. Actually, a lot of the friends out in the community are also jumping on that. So, and if you do decide to jump on that, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to tourgeardesigns.com/discount /the guitar knobs, you will receive 10% off your entire order.
Okay. It's worth it.
It absolutely is.
Did they ever use my idea of calling them crepe cables instead of pancake cables?
I seriously doubt it. I think
so
they went
thin.
with German pancake.
No, that would be much thicker.
Okay. So with that, thank you, Tour Gear Designs, for making such an awesome product and for sponsoring the 4 on the floor. Jordan Collins of Coppersound Pedals, bestow upon us your 4th on the flooreth.
All right. First, I'm going to have to go with the Horizon Devices Precision Drive. This is a collaboration, I believe, with Horizon Devices from, or Misha from Periphery and the guys at MXR.
Nice.
So I'm assuming everybody knows what it is, but it's essentially a really, really cool drive pedal with a couple different voicings and a built-in gate, which I tend to use a lot in my playing. Really love that pedal.
Now, can I ask you,
yes,
how many amplifiers do you have?
So
that you would use that pedal with? That's why and the reason I'm asking is with the voicing, does that come in handy when you use different amps?
I think it actually tends to come in more, or it's more useful when you're playing different styles. So I only have a couple different amps right now. I have the Fender Bass Breaker 15 head, and I'm running that into a PV212. And I tend to use the furthest to the right setting on the Precision Drive as far as the voicing for lighter gain stuff. I feel like it takes away some of the high end and the harshness. If you're staying away from the bridge pickup, stuff like that. But I use it actually right in front of my main distortion pedal. And my next four on the floor would be the Diesel VH4. So I've always been a fan of that head. I could never afford it, but I checked out a couple demos a few years ago, and I was really blown away, especially with the deep knob that they have on that. I definitely feel like for the style of music that I like to play, as far as like the heavier stuff, I do like a certain amount of low end. Obviously nothing like to muddy up a mix or anything like that, but I definitely feel like it adds a nice characteristic to some of the staccato stuff that I'll tend to play on the lower string. So I definitely love that. So I'd say the Precision Drive into the VH4 is kind of like my main distortion sound, or like, heavier sound for like soloing and stuff like that. Which brings me to my next one. I would go with the Keeley Loomer pedal. So it's that pedal that has the reverb and the fuzz built in. I don't use the fuzz side. It's a great sounding fuzz. Never been a super big fuzz guy. But the reverb side is amazing for what I tend to use it for. I can't really even describe in detail like what it's doing. It adds this characteristic to my tone that I really, really like. It doesn't stay in the way, but I leave the mix down probably leave the mix at like 2%. Or maybe 2 on the dial, I would say. And it adds like this nice reverb that doesn't get in your way, but it's almost like a really long decay in the background that kind of just fills in space.
Oh, that's nice.
So I really like that, especially if I'm just using that for clean. It's kind of my version of the Flint. I've recently fallen in love with that here at the shop, but I had this before I kind of got into that. So definitely love that.
You bring up a good point though with reverb, because it's weird. You're talking about some staccato stuff, so I'm assuming you're playing a little bit stuff with a little bit more attack to it, right?
Sure.
And in some of the stuff that I personally play, it's got a little bit more of attack, not like galloping chuggy stuff, but just it needs to have bite. And sometimes if you have, I might want some of that extra character that reverb or delay can provide, but I can't have it be washing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It can't overtake what you're trying to do. It's
exactly
kind of sit in the back seat and, just kind of enhance it a little bit. It's not taking the lead. But obviously, for clean stuff, if you're playing, ambient or texture stuff, this pedal can do that as well, which, is great. So yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that thing it's just like a wall of reverb once you turn it up, and you do lose some note attack. But if you're going for like pad kind of stuff, especially for like overdubbing recording wise, like if you have a really big chorus and you want to make it jump, I'll record a couple tracks of just like the pad ambient. You take the attack out of the initial note, and it just adds this kind of, not strings, but it's almost like a nice pad in the back. It just enhances.
Can you explain pad to anybody who might not understand it?
Yeah, so I think the best way I can describe pad is it's enhancing the chords or the notes that you're playing in the background, but not overtaking them. So, for example, if you have like a choir or a string section that's accompanying the main focus point of a song, it's just adding that nice texture in the back to emphasize certain elements of the track or the section of the song. It's adding this nice little texture.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's kind of supporting the main element of the song or the section.
Where does that term come from? Do you know?
I'm actually not too sure. I know that there's a ton of plugins and stuff that you can get in a DAW where you know everybody says it's just like a quiet pad type thing, but I actually don't know.
Well, someone tell us, because I don't know either.
My guess is keyboard for some reason. I want to guess keyboard. I don't know.
Yeah. When I was playing with my dad and my brother years ago, my brother played piano and keyboard, and he said, "I'll just pad this song," and I didn't know what he meant. And I'm like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Oh, just kind of add a layer or whatever."
Yeah,
So I don't know if it's necessarily just the keyboard thing, or I think it's just to the effect of a layering. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's the way I kind of look at it. It's funny. I can't really describe the place where it came from, but it's kind of the term I always use to describe that pedal. It's just kind of adding like this pad type.
It's pad thai.
It's pad thai. Couple noodles.
I looked it up. It says passive attenuation device. That's not it.
Nailed it.
Yep. Anyways, okay. So please continues.
Okay. And the last one. I'm going to have to go with the Walrus Audio ARP 87 delay.
Okay.
Absolutely love this thing. I had a couple different delays that didn't have tap before. So I definitely wanted to try this out. Now, obviously, tap isn't like, crazy unattainable in the delay world, but I really like the momentary function that's on the bypass switch. So if you hold it for, maybe a half a second or so and then just let go, it's in and it's out. And you can turn trails on or off, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I really, really love about this delay is the lo-fi delay mode on it. I think they absolutely nailed that with whatever they did with that. It's so great for textures. Again, I'll go back to the word textures. And it's one of those delays that I really could not live without. I've had a bunch of them before. But I think with all of the modes combined with all the different settings and different things you can do with that pedal, I think it's very, very well built. And I think they killed it.
Awesome. I love when you're able to say, I just can't imagine playing without this particular thing, whatever that is. That's a nice feeling.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's, that's kind of why it made this list. It's one of my go-tos. If I had to build a mini board, that's probably what the board would be, and that's definitely one of the things I can't live without. So I think the Loomer would cover my reverb, and that's just my go-to delay as far as that stuff. It's great.
Awesome.
Nice.
Props to Walrus.
Well, that's 4 new ones. I don't think we've had any of those on there. Tony, can you recall any?
I don't think so, no.
I'm pretty sure not. It'll be fun to, towards, I guess, maybe the end of the year time or whatever, or maybe even, I guess, next spring when we would hit our 5 to go, 5-year to go through and say, well, what was all new this year? And, it's always so interesting to me.
Definitely. Yeah. It'd be cool to tally them up and kind of see which ones made the cut. And
yeah, well, we did a whole thing where, I don't know, I can't remember what number episode it is, but we literally had a show all about the 4 on the floor tally. And somebody decided on the internet, they said, hey, you've got all this information. If you give it to me, I will turn it into a spreadsheet. And I was like, fantastic. So we made an episode out of that. And that was pretty. It was very interesting because I don't think it's not what we expected. And we do the show. I know all these pedals,
right?
But I guess I wasn't expecting some of that. It was a little flatter than you might think, but there were some very obvious standouts. But I would encourage you now with new YouTubes, you can go back and listen to that. So
that's right,
or Spotify or whatever you want. So thank you so much, Jordan, for doing that for us. And if you don't mind,
thank you.
We've got. I just want to set before we go into the big meaty stuff here. Number one, I need to find out. I need to say a big fat thanks to John Finnell, johnfinnell.com and relayrecording.com. where our studio here is currently located, for providing this for us, at a cost, but providing it nonetheless. John is a fantastic manipulator of guitar tone. And I can attribute this from doing it myself with him. And you can listen to that on the Valentinos.
Shameless plug.
Okay, so if you want to get some awesome guitar tone recorded, or find out how you might even want to be able to do that on your own if you can't make it this way or whatever, check him out, johnfiddle.com, relayrecording.com. And he did a really awesome interview with us on an episode that we talked about. So you're going to the recording studio, something like that, 101. It's on there. We've done a lot of these shows. I can't remember every single title, everybody. Okay, so that was point number 1. Point number 2, Alex and Jordan, will you please distinguish what your roles are at Coppersound?
Yeah, so my main role,
I
would say, this is Alex. So when I'm not forgetting my name before speaking, usually I'll handle primarily the designs of the pedals. I handle the custom shop stuff, which is, our pickguard series, which consists of Broadway and Strategy, where we match people's strats and tellies to our pickguard series. One-off stuff like that. I handle all of the supplier details. I handle all of the shipping, the freight forwarding, and generally like the breadboarding, the designing of the stuff. It's definitely a democracy and like a group effort in here, but I'll usually bring those forward. I'll also work on the circuit boards. So I do the circuit board layouts, and a lot of the hardware aspects of the pedal. So essentially anything that has to do with, knobs, switches, jack locations, placement, and stuff like that. And I'll work on that stuff directly with Jordan as well.
Cool. Jordan?
Yes. So this is Jordan. I handle all of the graphic and digital design for Coppersound. So I'll do all of the graphics for our pedals, the layouts for coordinates that I work on with Alex as far as getting all the components to line up. I do all the marketing and help him with some of the social media and stuff like that. So kind of him and I, we put our heads together and we do the designs for all the pedals, and kind of stuff like that for website stuff, all the digital aspects. That's what I'll handle.
Website.
Okay, so we have Coppersound Pedals on the show again, and this was a special request. We would have them on anyways, but it just so happens that they've got some pretty big news that they wanted to share, and we are very excited to help make that happen. So, gentlemen,
to introduce our new pedal, it's called the Third Man Triplegraph, and it is a digital octave pedal designed by ourselves here at Coppersound and Jack White and Third Man Records. So a couple years ago, we were in Nashville for our first NAMM show, and we were kind of packing up everything in the shop. It was one of the last days before we headed down there and started our drive. And Alex had mentioned that, we'd probably stop at Third Man, and he kind of, started to make a plan for us as far as what would be our first couple days there. So this is an entirely new experience for us. It was our first show as a company. And he mentioned Third Man, and we kind of got to talking about it, and I suggested, hey, well, if we're going to stop by there, we should bring Jack one of our Telegraph stutter pedals just as a gift. I thought that would be really cool with his aesthetic and, kind of everything the Third Man is with their aesthetic essentially. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. But we have to make it yellow. So we ended up driving down to Nashville, and we dropped off the Telegraph stutter at Third Man Records. And at that point, I think we all just thought it would be a really cool gift. kind of up Jack's alley. He can use it to, use it as it is, just a simple kill switch. And then that was really it. We went to the NAMM show and set up our booth and decided to proceed with the show, just kind of showing everybody our gadgets and our new devices. And I believe it was on the second day of NAMM. I think it was maybe about 45 minutes into the show. We get a phone call on the company line, and it went to voicemail. And it was Mr. Ben Swank of Third Man Records. He's one of the co-owners along with Jack and his cousin Ben Blackwell. Essentially saying he himself and Jack had received the pedal that we had dropped off, and they would like to meet with us to go over an idea if we were interested. And it's kind of at that moment where myself, along with Alex, were kind of losing it as far as trying to maintain our composure. So for those who don't know, Jack White is Alex's favorite artist. So
I thought you were going to say In the White Stripes.
yeah. For those who don't. So we got this phone call. We were trying to frantically run around to get Wi-Fi because NAMM is always crazy with, service and stuff like that. And I mean, this was our first NAMM show. We had just picked up our banner at Staples. We're a very young company, with our small table, and we just had our couple devices there with some business cards, talking to the people on the floor, and we end up getting this voicemail from them. So eventually they made their way into the NAMM show. Mr. Ben Swank and Jenna, his associate, and they pulled out a piece of paper with our telegraph stutter on it, the one that we dropped off, a mocked up version with 3 telegraph keys on the top. It was a bigger enclosure to make room for those keys.
Can you, before you go into like the all 3, can you explain what the telegraph stutter is? Because it is arguably one of the most unique pedals on the market, period.
Sure. So the telegraph stutter is our momentary kill switch pedal. Essentially, it's an on and off switch that you can rapidly cut off with your hand. And it sends your signal to ground almost like a Les Paul switch or your foot. So it immediately cuts off your signal when pressed down, or using the polarity switch on some of them, it reverses the signal. So signal is only let through when the key is pressed down. So it's almost it's essentially the opposite. And it features an old school Morse code telegraph key on the top of the pedal enclosure. So you can use it to chop up your signal like a really hard tremolo, or you can use it as a tap tempo. Plug it into any pedal that takes tap tempo, and you can tap the tempo in with the key. So Mr. Ben Swank had come here with a drawing of that gift that we dropped off for Jack in yellow. And he said, hey, so Jack was wondering if you guys would like to make a custom thing for him and Third Man Records. And it would be basically a pedal with 3 telegraph keys on it, like our telegraph stutter. One of the keys would do octave up. The other key on the far left would do octave down. And the other key in the middle would be our regular momentary kill switch, as the telegraph stutter already is. And I believe Alex's words were, it's going to be a lot of work, but we want to do the work.
Awesome.
So at that point, the idea for the Triplegraph was born. And for the next 4 years, our lives kind of changed completely as far as what we kind of did from a daily basis, what we thought we were capable of doing, as such a small company. And yeah, at that point, like I said, the next 4 years were kind of consumed by this project. And at this point, we're very happy to say that it's going to be available very soon through Jack White's Third Man Records.
That's fantastic. It's a great story, especially when you're holding, knowing that story while holding the pedal, going, wow, this is really something special. We have the privilege of trying one out, and this is a pretty remarkable pedal. If nothing else, you just stand there for a few minutes and you kind of look at it and you say, I mean, this is borderline ridiculous, but in the most awesome way.
I think what summed it up for me, and I've been referencing for a while, Todd, I had sent you one, and a couple days later you called me, and this is the conversation for the listeners. The phone rings, and I pick it up. Hey, Todd, what's up? Are you insane? And that was the call verbatim. And I said, did you get the thing I sent you?
Yeah. I think I might have yelled it over the phone.
You kind of assaulted me.
I was hoping you would take it in with, good manner of jest, but I was out of my mind. I was thrilled. I pulled my kids downstairs. I'm like, you guys, look at this. Bear, play. I'm plugging in. Didn't stop making me play your pedals, Dad. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, I was going nuts. I'd never seen anything like that. I'd never heard anything like that. And I was, number one, I was thrilled to be lucky enough to be considered, to receive that and to get you guys on the show. I was thrilled as a player that I was like, wow, here's something totally new that I can immediately understand how I can use this. And that, we talk a lot about some pedals. It's like, I don't know if I can use this. It's not really my jam. But this particular one, I was like, wow, I've already figured out where I can use this, how I can use this. And then third, I was truly excited, happy, and proud for you guys for this accomplishment.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We're happy to have you guys say, yes, send us a surprise thing. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Hell yes.
Keep them coming.
Yeah. So that is the setup for it. Now, I think there's a key element in there, because right now you just said, oh, can you just make 3 telegraph stutters?
Yeah.
But then you worked in there like, this is going to be a lot of work. Now, remember, everybody, he said this was 4 years ago. That's why this
Todd
is
had hair when we started this.
Yes.
No, he didn't.
I'll edit that.
No, he didn't.
I think, we have people on that we say, hey, cool, you got a new pedal. This is really cool. Tell us all about your new pedal. But I think this is really special because not every pedal takes 4 years to come to fruition. And with the backstory you have, it makes it that much bigger of an announcement. There's nothing like it on the market at all. Probably never will be after this either. And not only from the aesthetic and the functionality and the mechanicalness of it, but what it actually does and the sounds and everything. So can we talk about how you guys came to some of the functionality on it?
Yeah. So once we had that drawing from Ben Swank, essentially of kind of the idea, the first thing we had to do was kind of get a proof of concept for it. Now, his original idea it was an elongated, small handheld enclosure to have 3 telegraphs on it. For the people listening at home that can't see it, it's about the size of a TC Electronic Flashback 4 or the Ditto 4, it's a hefty pedal. So what we then did for the features and aesthetic, because obviously knowing Jack's brand, he's very into the aesthetics and stuff. He likes old time stuff, which is really cool. I'm kind of in that boat as well. He's sailing faster than me, but we had to keep that aesthetic. So when we had our telegraph keys, the first thing we did was we wanted to get a proof of concept. So we got the size enclosure that we actually have before you, Todd, or the person watching at home. Mm-hmm. And then we had 3 of our keys laid out. That was the easy part because we knew that we wanted it drawn out like that. That's how they liked it. We had an input and an output in the back and a power supply, and we had the 3 keys. And the first thing we did was like, okay, obviously we got to create octave up and down. I think we all knew that it's one of the hardest effects to create and reproduce in a clean manner, but I don't think we knew it would be 4 years. So for the first year, from 2016 till summer of 2017, for the Summer NAMM show, we spent time learning the FV1 platform because that was all we knew at the time. And we essentially designed that in its software. For those listening, it's a program that is based off a reverb chip that you'll see a lot of great companies like Keeley and Old Blood do platforms based off it, even Chase Bliss. And we started with that platform because it can do octave, but there's some limitations to it. And those limitations being latency and modulation, especially in the highs. So we had done it because that's all we knew. So we get to summer 2016. We got 3 keys in and out and a power, and we've got the FB1 platform inside of there. We go down to Jack's hometown of Nashville, or adopted hometown of Nashville, and we have a meeting set up with him during NAMM as well. So we're still there for NAMM and everything. We're there for about a week. We go down, and we have our meeting with Jack. We get to go in his office. We get to meet him and everything. Really cool time to be alive for us, if you will.
I can't imagine how hard that must have been for you.
Yeah, and he's like, I think he's 8'7", something like that. Like he's a big guy. So we get down there and we're hanging out with Ben and a few other folks at Third Man, and Jack is there as well. And we're bringing him, essentially, I made him a small little pedal board to put this on to be somewhat professional. And I brought that down there, and we're talking about stuff, and he's playing the pedal. He has a Fender, and his, I think his Gretsch Duojet was there. And he's playing through it, and he's stepping down on the keys, which our Telegraph stutter that Jordan mentioned previously is made out of plastic and thinner steel. And Jack's like 6'4", he's stepping on this, and we're like, oh boy, it's that first moment of like looking through your hands. You don't want to like see something, but you do, or like the green stop sign.
Yeah.
So he's playing through it, and then the first thing he says for his first 2 critiques are, there's latency in the lows and there's modulation in the highs. And we're like, well, the guy with the ear that has like 12 Grammys outside heard the thing that we heard. Mm-hmm. So essentially we went back to the drawing board after we kind of talked about some names. I think this is your name, right? Triplegraph ended up being Jordan's name in the list of stuff.
Yep.
We had a couple different ones.
I think we were trying to obviously integrate Telegraph in it. I came up with Octograph, and I was trying to just combine octave and telegraph together, but it kind of sounded too much like 8 of something.
Yeah, or octopus, which is usually works out because, again, 8 for the steps.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's probably better than telepus.
Yeah. The Triplegraph beat that one out just by a little bit. Just by a hair.
Yeah, I think we all agreed on Triplegraph, and Jack liked it. Obviously, most important. But I think it was cool that we were able to, come across a relatively easy name to pronounce that kind of correlates to everything going on in that pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And his obsession with 3. Mm-hmm. For people that don't know, Jack uses 3 for a lot of things.
Everything.
Yeah, for pretty much everything. But yeah, so that was summer 2017. And essentially we were coming home, not with our heads low, but we knew we had to go back to the drawing board because the spin platform could not handle what Jack was used to, which is playing. He has the first ever digital octave recording with the Pog from 2005 for the opening track and Get Behind Me Satan, which is Blue Orchid. Mm-hmm. So he's used to having that, high DSP octave. So we came back and we essentially had to go to the drawing board. We called out to a friend that works at Western Digital over in the Bay Area in California, flew him out, and essentially he started working on the code for octave. We walked him through what we needed to do about latency, all that type of stuff, and he was essentially the guy that designed the code around this, which took a long time. I wish I knew the amount of hours. It might be the 70 or 80 hours of code and going back and forth on the phone with Jordan and I and emails and stuff like that. So yeah, we flew him out here to do that and essentially kind of kick our butt into gear of what we needed to do. And luckily we had this contact that we were able to do. hook up with. And that was kind of the next step, was we got to make this thing sound really good. Good enough for, the modern king of octave.
Right.
And so that was kind of the next step for that.
Okay.
Going back to we had to go to the inside of the pedal first, if you will.
Yeah.
Because we thought the outside was going to be easy. That's a little foreshadowing here.
Oh man. Yeah. So that kind of brings us, while the inside is being worked on, we really had to step up our game as far as the outside with the aesthetics and the actual functionality of the telegraph keys. So again, having him step on these keys, they ended up bending a lot. They're definitely not meant for foot use, especially somebody,
or extensive foot use.
Extensive. Yeah. I would say somebody who's playing really intensive on stage, you probably don't want to use this more than a couple times as far at the time. So, flash forward about a year, we're still working on, the code and trying to make this, an actual reality. And we got Jack a couple prototypes for the Raconteurs Help Us Stranger tour. And
we originally had a good prototype for the record.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah,
so they did an album in 2019, Help Us Stranger. So we got them a thing for end of 2019.
Yes.
End of 2018. End of 2018. Yep.
So we got him a Triplegraph for the studio, and at that time, at this point, we had kind of made all the graphics for the pedal. We wanted to go with a very easy, approachable layout where, if you were on a stage and you didn't know which key was which, you just see these big arrows. For those of you who don't see the pedal right now, it's a very simple layout. The left key has 2 arrows going down, representing octave down. The middle key, which we can get into a little bit more, has 2 X's on it, representing our regular kill switch. And the key on the far right of the 3 keys has the arrows going up, representing octave up. And for those of you trying to visualize it, you can kind of think of it as a piano, where the lower notes will be with your left hand and higher with your right. So we had got Jack a Triplegraph for the studio, and he used it on the record, which is really cool. At this point, we were, kind of in the clear. We thought, we were like, this is fantastic. We
we thought we were in the clear.
Yeah, we thought,
How many years ago was this?
So this is end of 2018.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coming around probably like a little before Christmas. I think we got it around like Black Friday 2018.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So
sorry, just to keep the timeline.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we get him a Triplegraph for the studio, and I think we sent this off with high hopes. We're like, this is great. He likes our octave so far, and that's such a huge compliment for somebody who really uses octave a lot in their music and is known for it. So he sends the Triplegraph back to us after he uses it on the record, and there's definitely some problems. The keys are bending like crazy after just a couple takes. He's finding that even like through mid-song, he has to bend over and bend the arms back on the keys. And it's kind of a problem, especially if he's going to be using it live. So what we really had to do at that point was develop our own proprietary hardware. And this is kind of where the chaos for the outside of the pedal started. As far as
we thought the outside was going to be the easy part, and the inside was going to be difficult.
Yeah. So at that point, we were like, all right, well, we essentially have to make this jack proof.
He was the best beta tester that we had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally couldn't ask for anything better.
Yep. So first we started with the arms, the telegraph arms. So we definitely figured out that those had to be thicker metal, especially for somebody putting their body weight on it. We really wanted him to be able to beat the crap out of this and not have to worry about it bending. So we ended up getting the keys made out of aluminum, and we went back with a bunch of different engineered drawings that Alex and I had come up with, staying true to our old telegraph key, or our current telegraph key that we had at the time. We wanted to keep the aesthetic as much as possible, but we knew that we had to really, really make this buff and very, very durable for the road, and studio, obviously. So we had that manufactured, came back with a couple revisions, and then we worked on the base, which is the element of the telegraph or the Triplegraph that holds the actual arm in place, along with the cradle. And I believe this is steel. The base is
So the bases and the button, the part of the device that is anodized black, those are both machined out of aluminum, whereas the cradle and the arm, I believe, are stainless steel and then rolled. If I'm correct on that.
Yes, that's correct.
I think so. There's been so many manufacturers and figuring stuff out. But yeah, it's primarily out of aluminum and stainless steel.
I can't even imagine how you go about going, I need to reproduce a modern version of a telegraph that is indestructible. How do you even do that?
It's like Jordan mentioned, we wanted, obviously a big part of this is to keep aesthetics. So we wanted to keep the aesthetic with, having the button for your hand, for fingers, but also being able to be used with your feet. Keeping, like he mentioned, the bass, hardware, a cradle. But what we had to do was, Jordan and I essentially had to teach ourselves to be really bad engineers, like really amateur engineers when it comes to drawing and getting out the calipers and getting down to the millimeter of distances between stuff. And Jordan would digitally render design mock-up, and then we found two local manufacturers that make the whole part of the telegraph minus the hardware, which we have someone outside of here make that. But what we did was we'd get drawings back, and Jordan would download them like a 1-for-1, and he would literally put it over his template in Illustrator and be like, oh, that's awesome. The holes at least line up. So if they do everything for a 1-to-1, everything's going to line up. So we had to design the base, which is the large black rectangle, the button, which is the spot that you would actually press your hand or foot to turn this on and off. Then the arm, which would bring the button all the way up to the cradle, and the cradle, which would hold it to the base. Now, one of the key things that Jordan mentioned, like, we have to make this for a dude that's very hard on his gear, night after night, sweating into it, playing big venues, touring, all that type of stuff.
He's a wild man on stage.
He is. We were fortunate enough that we got to see him about a year ago last week when they came through with their tour for a record. And yeah, he's no flower on stage, I'll tell you that. Like, he's going all over. And it was nice to see the pedal actually really hold up on tour. We got to go backstage, hang out with his tech, which actually grew up one town over from here, which was really interesting. So yeah, we had to make like a jack-proof, quasi-indestructible telegraph key. So we made that out of metal. And, we did stuff where it's locking mechanisms. We did really strong or like tight tolerances. I'm not sure the right way to say it, but we were essentially designing stuff, measuring stuff, going back and forth. At one point, Jack had a prototype for the Rode. It was the layout we mentioned. We had 2 toggle switches on it so that he could actually turn the octaves on and just keep them on without pressing his foot down. And we had the arms that were just made out of like the regular thin metal and the plastic that our telegraph stutter comes in. And he needed something stronger for the Rode. So there was a point at which they had sent us 2 triples for the Rode, because he had to have a backup one as well because he's testing it. They sent us to they had like a 2-day break or whatever, and we get an email or a call from Christina, who's the main like product specialist there. She essentially works directly with us on everything related to this, and we essentially get I think it was a call or an email. It was like, hey, we got to send you the tour ones from his tech. They're going to send it to you guys, and we need you to modify them and send them back to us the next day. And so I get this call from Jordan, and I work another part-time job in a warehouse, and it's a Monday. It's always a Monday. I work only Monday and or Tuesday. At this time I was working Monday, and I get a call at noon. I'm on lunch break. I get a call. Hey, what's up? Yeah, they're going to send the 2 things back. They're coming in today, next day air. We have to fix them tonight and send them back tomorrow morning, which means we have to do it by 4:00 in the afternoon to make the next day cut off at my work.
And not to mention the next couple shows, they're filming a DVD for 3 nights at the Rhine.
Oh my gosh.
No pressure at this point. So what we had to do at this point was a hodgepodge of the regular traditional telegraph stutter that we've made a ton of, and we had essentially modify that to have some of our hardware implemented, kind of some of the old, some of the new, so that it would be strong enough for him to do it live and not break. And I think at this point we had the cradle made, which was in its first version. Mm-hmm. We had not an arm done, I don't think, but we on the we have a really industrial vise in here, and we would vise it down, make the best eye measurements possible, and we drilled a hole so that it could hold a button and a ferrule, which we'll get into, onto a foot switch. And we did that night and then sent him back. And I had to open up the thing. And inside of this pedal is not what the circuit board that you'll see in the book, which we'll get to, and all that type of stuff. This is a development board at this point still. It's a small little circuit board that you can use to develop, use it as a platform to develop different sounds. And you can hear there's ins and outs and power and bus and all that type of stuff. You could upload a sound to it and audition that sound and see what you think of the sound. Oh, I like this. Let's change that. We would do that all the time for latency and frequencies and hertz and all that type of stuff that is way above our heads, that our designer is smarter than us for it. And we would grasp enough to talk to somebody that doesn't know, but really can't really talk to anybody in a conversation. And that development board, we put inside of that enclosure, and then I designed a network for Jack because he wanted to have a send and return, which we can get into as well. And then I had to develop a small little power regulator. So there's 3 circuit boards in here. And to help visualize it, the development board is about the size of like your palm, if you will. A really small circuit board. It's all green traditional. It has ins and outs. And the ins and outs are 3.5 millimeter, which is, people usually refer to it as like a 1/8 inch, like a headphone jack. So we had to get audio, not in a computer. We had to get audio going from a guitar into this development board through a regulator and this buffer split network that I created. And we had to use a headphone jack, and we'd have to cut it. We'd have to cut the wire of a headphone jack so that you could plug into this development board, and then it would plug into the guitar IOs. Jeez. So literally the headphone jack I'm sitting here listening to you guys on, we had a couple of those. We went out to stores. We found ones randomly around from like old computers and stuff, and we cut them. I hooked up the meter to figure out which was the tip, which was the ring, and which was the ground. And that's how we got Jack's guitar audio to go into that board and then come out with another headphone. We're going to CVS buying headphones just to cut the friggin' things in half.
Old pair of like Bose computer speakers in here. At one point, we went through like 5 headphone jacks. I'm like, all right, well, what you got in your car?
Yep, literally. And Jack also needed 2 for the road just as a backup. And they were always needing some. It's like, well, every board we'd make for Jack before the PCB has to have 2 Sony headphone jacks that you'd listen to your Walkman in from 1999 and cut that in half.
Wow.
So we'd have to do that. But you know what? I got out of work at like 5:30, drove down here, and we worked on it till like 1 or 2 in the morning. And we next morning finished it up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, drove to my work, shipped it out, and then they did the Ryman.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a learning experience, a fun time, a character builder. It sucked, but it was also awesome.
I mean, for anybody that has played anything on stage, which I would imagine are a pretty fair amount of our listeners, that is not the time to experiment. No. Even if you're just playing your local bar, you don't want to look like a turd on stage because your gear doesn't work. And our guitar industry is littered with all kinds of things, doohickeys and gizmos that prevent mayhem from happening in your gear. So to purposely inject something that is that has more probability of going berserk or haywire or completely failing. No fault of your own. You're trying to, you're concepting this on the fly. That says a lot about his trust in you guys to be able to do this.
Yeah, and the thing, Jack likes to make stuff hard on himself. He's like the opposite of most people. And the thing that, you might not realize, or I think we all grasp, was he was, while promoting an album that also had this pedal on it, and he uses it actually on back catalog, like he'll do it on Steady As She Goes and a couple other songs. So he's touring a new record that was the first time they did a record since 2008, while simultaneously touring like the world in our country for this record. He's technically testing out a product that he's been working on with us at this point for 2.5 years. So while doing that, simultaneously, we're up here in Massachusetts and we're designing and engineering from the ground up hardware. So it's kind of like, it kind of had to be that way. It's like, hey, I need this because I recorded with it and I want to test it out because we want to sell it as a product that we're in the long haul for. And it's like, cool, we have new stuff, so we need to get it to you to try it out because we've developed this thing, we've developed that thing. We want to make sure it's cool. At one point we actually had cabinet knobs on there from Lowe's. No lie, that's in the
it's in the book that Weekend took. It some of
it
the
had to be done though.
Yeah, it had to be done because the other alternative was telling them that we can't do it.
Yeah, we're not, and essentially we're
not what we're going to do.
Without saying, our credo is kind of don't say no to Jack.
Yeah,
push ourselves.
He, I'm not gonna mention the company, but there was a time when he had approached somebody else that he wanted to do a pedal with them. I think something similar to this, and they had said no, that they don't do stuff like this. So I just want to kind of emphasize that, the fact that he put this privilege on us and, he trusted us to do this, it kind of puts us in a position where we're going to do absolutely everything that we can in our power, to make this work for him. And, we're so thankful that he trusted us to do so. So, the least we can do on our end is really, really, bust ass and try to do the best we can, so that he can actually beta test this thing on the road.
Yeah.
And it was super difficult some days, because we're kind of like you said, we're kind of we're midway through engineering this thing on the fly while he's on the road. But, it ended up working out for the best, which, I think we're very lucky for.
That's pretty remarkable. So, I have to be honest, when I first opened this up, I said, this is remarkable. Is this necessary? That was my first, the very first thing I was like, this is one of those awesome things that is like, it's like a 3-wheel motorcycle, or with the 2 wheels in the front kind of thing. It's like, what is this? But because I know how dedicated you are to your craft and how good your pedals are, and obviously Jack's involvement and the little bit of backstory that I had, I knew that this was going to be awesome. I didn't know how. One of the key things that I locked when I kind of went like, oh, hey now, it's so simple. It's just your momentary latch on there.
Yes.
That was later too. I had mentioned Todd and company that we had little toggle switches so Jack could lock the octave in. So in the studio, he wouldn't have to hold his foot. But yeah, the addition that you're mentioning for the listeners, there's toggle switches between the two, between all 3 bases of telegraphs. Mm-hmm. And they're essentially there's an up and a down position. And one of them is a momentary mode so that as you step on the pedal, you'll get the octave sound. And as you release, it'll go back to clean. What we did was we had that locking thing so Jack could turn it on and keep it on, but then the arm itself becomes useless. We didn't want to have part of a product that when you change a switch, something that's main becomes useless. Mm-hmm. So we ended up creating a locking feature, which we call Locktive, because we're cheeky and silly and fun. And they liked it, and it was that's fine. And it turns into what you're traditionally known in our world as just a latching on. So instead of having it momentary, and when you release, it goes back to bypass. If you step on it once, you get your effect on and you can go do your thing. You step on it again, it's off, just like we're, accustomed to in this world.
Yeah, that was a big thing because that's when it kind of, at least for me personally, opened it up because I locked down the high octave and then kept the low as a momentary. And that's when I was like, whoa, this is really cool because I can emphasize very subtle parts without just going like, oh, he's got an octave pedal on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I will also say that the octave that you have, I've tried several octaves, and sometimes octaves is just like, it's just too octavey. I don't know how to explain that. It's just it's too much of a circus thing, right? And I didn't feel like that. This was an incredibly usable sound that didn't turn me into like I was playing for Funkadelic or something like that. It was just it was very rock friendly. It was just very usable. That was a key thing. And then your loop. Tell us about the loop.
Yeah, so the loop is a very cool feature that we kind of implemented in the last stages of developing this project with him. Initially, Jack had reached out and was wondering if we could somehow put another effect with this pedal using the telegraph keys. Now, Alex can probably help me out on this, but I remember he was mentioning something about old switchboard operators and how people would be plugging in jacks to this wall of cables,
like the operator.
And I think we kind of all had a discussion, if we have something that doesn't actually lock in with 1/4-inch jacks, that's going to get really messy for the live player. You're not going to necessarily have extra cables laying around. So we ended up implementing this feature where with 1/4-inch jacks, just regular guitar cables, you can insert another pedal into the Triplegraph and control that momentarily with the middle key. And we call that auxiliary mode, or the loop, if you will.
Mind blown.
So what this allows you to do, like I was saying, is you put the whatever desired effect you want into the loop. So if the key in the middle is in kill mode, it's just a regular kill switch and it removes your dry signal. And that's correlated with the yellow LED that's in the top left of the pedal. If you are to go in the back and you switch it to auxiliary mode, we have a graphic on the back as well that kind of shows the correlation between that. It will change to a red LED and then it will be in auxiliary mode. And what that will do is it will momentarily activate whatever effect is in the loop using the middle key. And you can use those simultaneously or in parallel with the other octave keys. So if you wanted to just put a fuzz in the loop, for example, you can use our octave down key on the left and the middle key. So you'll get whatever effect is in the loop plus an octave down. And you can do that with the momentary or latching feature as well for the octave.
Wicked. Absolutely wicked. Or think about if you've got like a fully oscillating delay in there and you just punch that in. What?
Yeah, it's fun to be able to interject something for a piece. Jack will usually use delay and octave down for like lead parts on something or solo, and then just be able to essentially walk away from his board and he's back to his traditional sound that he was doing anyway. So being able to use, essentially it's like having a single true bypass looper, but just for a momentary burst of stuff.
Well, and in some way, to me, this unlocks a whole new world of the idea of momentary, because right now, as a guitar player, I can play along. I'm either leading the song or I have some major part in the song, but most of the accent work is going to be done by like the drums, right?
Sure.
I personally like finding the little accent bits. I mean, Keith is a great accenteur, but when you can find those things, it's usually only happening on the guitar. There's not a lot of really convincing or non-intrusive ways to dip into an effect just for a blip, right? I'm not saying they're not there, but it's just that's not as common of a practice. And this is a great way to be able to do that, from my perspective anyways.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the other things, kind of going off what you said about interjecting certain things, is some people might ask, well, why not just have 3 buttons, like 3 foot switches on the top of a pedal? Like, why the telegraphs? And one of the things that we wanted to focus on when we were designing the hardware was that the ease of use for triggering these effects is very easy. If the telegraph keys weren't there, you would not have an easy time kind of doing these in momentary bursts. And kind of what the telegraph keys do is they take all the pressure off of your foot, and you really only have to tap it very lightly, and you can get really fast speeds, or you can, obviously get as slow as you want. But as far as like interjecting certain things in songs, I think it's going to really open up a bunch of doors for people creatively. Especially like, myself. I know we're talking about Jack here, but just kind of beta testing this myself. I've never really played anything momentary because, I would either have to step on a pedal that didn't have a momentary feature, really fast and try to do it that way. And then it wasn't really my thing. But because of the ease of use with these keys, it's very, very simple to get creative with certain patterns. And I think you're totally right as far as, sometimes the drummer will accent these certain parts. But, with this momentary feature, I hope people can kind of explore their creativity as far as, opening up kind of new doors as far as, having other effects and, being able to turn them off at a moment's notice or turn them on at a moment's notice.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point in time, if you're playing and the only way that you're able to accent a note or something or accent a moment in a song that maybe even coinciding with, a big, cymbal crash or something like that is like, oh, I'm going to do a big bend, or something like that. It's like, well, you do that about 5 times in 2 songs. It's like, well, that's already old.
Right.
So, and that's been the sound that we've been able to do for decades. So this is something that I immediately was saying, oh joy, I can do this without it sounding comical or overwrought live. Unless I want to make it sound comical or overwrought. You can totally do that too.
If you want.
Yeah.
We're actually we're in here kind of testing out the final batch before we deliver it, and we have the flint kind of dimed, and it's really cool. Fun. It's really fun to just trigger that momentarily.
Right.
And it's it's really fun. It kind of makes momentary fun, at least for somebody like myself who had never really used it before. That kind of aspect, and obviously, it's whatever effect you want. You could even put a whole pedal board in the loop if you wanted.
Yeah.
Let's go with
I
that.
might have to do that. So I notice you've got a yellow one and a black one. Why don't you talk about those?
Yeah. So right from the get-go, in our first meeting, they had mentioned that Third Man, whenever they do a hardware, which is their umbrella for their pedals and stuff, so they would always do a limited edition one, which would be yellow, and they would do a black one, which would be standard. And the reason they do that is because that's how vinyl falls. It's always black for the standard, then the limited edition stuff, and special releases are color. So they were like, we're going to do a colored one, and we're going to do a black one for standard. We picked out all the colors and everything with Jack and them. And the main differences between these two are thusly. The standard edition is going to be a black enclosure with yellow and white print. It's got its standard edition box, and inside of this also comes with a user manual, and it comes with a book about everything we kind of talked about, and it goes into detail that Jordan designed here, took pictures of the last 4 years, and the book itself is 130 pages.
It's fantastic. I mean, just the book. If it's the first thing when you open something up and there's a pedal underneath is this book, and you're wowed by that, I mean, that's an indication of what this pedal is going to be about.
Yeah, so that kind of illustrates our life for the last 4 years, from the start of dropping it off to Third Man, through the breadboard, through the hardware design, through the touring, all the way up to a commercial that they filmed and a picture of us in the blue room with him, and acknowledgments. Plus, there's fun little, there's hidden Morse code inside that book that you can use the decoder to find out messages that we didn't tell you about. So that's what the standard package is. The limited edition is a yellow that Jack picked out, and it's going to have white and black print. The difference in the enclosure, instead of having a screen print on the front heel where it would say the model, it actually has a badge that's been milled out of aluminum, anodized black, and then machined out to have the name Triplegraph, the artwork that Jordan did with it, and then Triplegraph in Morse code. Plus, it also has the serial number for the first 100 on that badge itself. So the first 100 are limited edition, and they'll have that badge. So with the limited edition yellow one, that'll also have a limited edition box, which is a slight tweak and variation on the traditional one that Jordan designed. It will also have the manual and the book as well. And the last thing it will have is a certificate of authenticity that's numbered and signed by Jack himself. So that's, again, in the first 100 for the limited edition. The standard price for the Triplegraph is $399. The limited edition is $449, and the limited edition is only available to the first 100. And from there, after that, there's no more. It's just going to be the standard.
Too cool.
So there you go. There's the breakdown for you.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress enough how much fun this pedal is. And I don't mean, oh, it's cool, you get to tap on telegraphy things. I mean, sonically, this is a fantastically fun pedal to play with. I was really, truly blown away, and I couldn't call Alex fast enough.
Well, I'll say, Todd, that, I mean, I've played with a lot of octave pedals and over the years, and this one tracks better than anything I've ever messed with. And my favorite thing was putting both in lockdown, playing it in E, and it's the end of a day in the life. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's really pretty fantastic. So, guys, I really appreciate that you gave us the opportunity to play with it, to talk about this. I'm really thrilled with what you've done. I'm very, very happy for your accomplishment, and to see what happens with this. Tony and I were talking about this, and Jared, we're all like, I actually referenced this at the beginning of the show. It's like, this is one of those pedals, like, what is going to come out of this that we will begin to hear? Is there any kind of style or trend that we'll see as a result of this pedal? I think there's a very high likelihood of that happening. Yeah, we'll probably hear a little bit more octave now and then, but it's
a better octave. That is better octave.
Yes, but it isn't. But it isn't just about, oh, I'm going to punch in octave. Like we talked about all the extra stuff, and there's so many possibilities. And if you are like us and you love the gear, and we can't help ourselves from acquiring things that are beautiful, unique, and that fuel our passion. And this is absolutely in the trophy case of those types of things. So we can't advocate it anymore. So we're gonna move on.
Hey, if I order one, can I get the kitchen cabinet knobs on mine?
There's an upcharge for that.
About $2.97 a knob.
Yeah. There you go.
We got to drive to load.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much. We're going to motor on over to see what Jared's got in store for us real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the show where I sing a little ditty like this. Would you rather?
All right.
Boy, that would sound good with an octave pedal.
I think it would
sound better.
Absolutely.
Or the kill switch.
Or the kill switch.
No, we're kidding, Jared.
Oh, man. Speaking of man, this Would You Rather is from our main man, Levi Main. Man. Okay. This Would You Rather is from Levi Main, and it goes a little something like this. The year is 1999, so you're partying like it's 99, right?
Yeah.
And then the next day, you're walking down the street, and a guy appears and pulls you into a side door. You've been pulled into the B.B. King and Eric Clapton sessions for Riding with the King album. What the heck, right? But you're there. So B.B. and Eric are tired of each other, and they need to jam, right? So here's the would you rather, and it's a good question. Here's the would you rather. Do you play on the B.B. King rig? Are you going to play as, Lucille and all that good stuff? Or are you going to jam with B.B. King on Clapton stuff? So you're either going to play B.B. King stuff and jam with Clapton, or you're going to play Clapton stuff and jam with the King. And I don't know what Clapton played on that album. I've seen Clapton play Gibson ES 335s and jazz boxes, Les Pauls.
99 would probably be pretty stratty, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think
Stratocaster,
yeah.
the Strat Plus.
Mhm.
Yeah, he had those. So what are you going to do?
All right. Well, Tony Baloney, why don't you lead us off here?
From what I'm told, B.B. King used like super, super light strings, like eights maybe. And I cannot play anything less than a 10 anymore.
Literally.
So I think I would. I think I'd rather play Clapton's rig, especially if it was that Strat era. Just for you, Todd.
Yeah.
I think those were the noiseless pickups too. Those really nice noiseless pickups.
And it also has a mid-range bump built into it too. Yeah.
Yeah, the DBX switch or something like that.
No, it's a mid-range bump.
I thought those pluses had the. You know what I'm talking
TBX
about?
tone stack in it.
Yeah. That thing. I said DBX. I meant TBX.
But so I think that's what I'm going to do. So if I play Clapton's rig, I've got to play B.B. King songs, and if I play B.B. King songs, I've got to play Clapton songs. Is that right?
B.B. King's rig, Clapton songs.
Oh yeah, that's what I said.
Well, no. This is all. I think this is all B.B. King songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
So it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I stick with my original choice of the Clapton rig.
Yay.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
How about
Plain and simple.
Let's go, Jared.
Yes. So definitely gonna play the Lucille. BB King can go take a break, do whatever. I'm gonna play the Lucille and jam with Eric. And I think it's just because of the guitar. I'm actually gonna switch the switches, and I'm gonna mess with all the, and I'm gonna do some finger tapping on it, and I'm gonna see if all the other strings and frets feel brand new, because he does play on one string and everything. So
will you play Dust in the Wind on it?
I probably might. I don't know. I might. Yeah.
And for reference, this is it's a black Strat, white pickguard, maple neck. Just so we all got that.
Oh, that's what's his name's. Yeah.
Blackie?
That's what's his name's. Yes.
Eric Clapton.
Yes.
That English dude.
Because
Okay.
I was talking about playing BB King stuff, and you said Strat, and I'm like,
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Jordan.
I have to play Clapton's rig. Definitely, I have to play Clapton's rig in this.
why?
I'm such a Strat guy. I'm addicted to the Strat,
Yes.
and I don't know. I don't think I could. I don't think I could play the Lucille. I've not had good luck with that. Especially, you brought up a great point about the string gauge. I can't play eights. They'll just bend. Like I'll just play an
That's
open
the
E and they'll go
point.
sharp. Can't do it.
You press too hard on the frets, and it just all goes sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I think I totally got to go with the Strat. Got to
Okay.
go with Clapton's rig.
Yay.
I'm so anxious to hear what Alex says.
Somebody's
Fair
on
enough.
my island.
I actually thought everybody was going to pick Clapton's rig, but I was wrong.
Tony, a question for you before my answer. You, I think the 8 gauge is somewhat throwing a wrench in the gear, possibly. Do you know what Clapton happened to play?
I thought Clapton always played heavier things.
Right.
So I'm guessing
9s or 10s.
Probably at least 10s, maybe 11s.
In 99, probably 10s or 11s.
Yeah, he's probably gone down to 8s now too. He's an old guy.
Yeah, I'm torn because I'm not a Strat person, but I'm also not a light gauge person at all. I play 11s traditionally, 10 at the lightest. So if that's the make or break, we've all essentially answered as if it's definitely 8s on the Lucille. I think that alone might be the break for me, and I think I'd have to go with the Clapton rig.
Yes.
For that one.
Yes.
There we go.
Because of the 8s. If it wasn't for the 8s, I'd go Lucille. You helped or ruined everybody here, Tony. Thanks a lot.
What do you? I think I know what Todd's gonna pick. I think
How
we
about you,
all
Todd?
know.
Yeah.
But let's listen.
I'm definitely taking BB Kings for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm not even gonna say because I do not need rocks thrown at me right now. Let's just say I think I'd rather hear Clapton, and I totally don't want to play the Strat. So that one's really easy for me. I think it would be pretty fantastic to just sit there and watch him do his thing, and of course add my awesome stylings, of course. But there you go. Well, excellent question. Yes, Jared.
A quick Clapton story. He bought his in-laws a house a few houses down from my aunt and uncle's summer home in Ohio, and he drove his Woody from California. My aunt's sister, which is not my aunt, obviously, she said, "Hey, Eric," or he didn't say, "Hey, Eric." He said, "Hey, did you drive that Woody all the way from California?" Because it had California plates on it, and she didn't know who the guy was. And he was just looking at her funny. She thought, she was like, I need this guy to get out of the way so I could take a picture of his car. And it was Eric Clapton.
Oh, my God.
Like this old guy was in the way with a guitar case. I was trying to get a picture of his car.
Anyway,
I actually
let me share that.
based off I have a quick thing that's very similar to Jared's that's actually relating to the Triplegraph. If just to close it out,
Sure.
When we heard a story when we were there, and in the back of Third Man, they have like a kitchen area with all the usual stuff and a large area to sit down. It's got kind of the cafeteria style, like looks kind of like essentially kind of like our telegraph keys, but like a small little area for you to sit. With the old school benches, like blue circles and everything. And there was the story that we were told is there was a female there that was going to be doing some type of vocal thing or whatever, or an employee. I can't fully remember, but either way, she was sitting down. It was her and this older gentleman, and they were sitting down. They were having some lunch in the back room, and she was singing something. And this gentleman says to her, "Hey, you sound really good. You have a really nice voice." And she exchanged some common pleasantries and said thank you and everything. And it turned out that older gentleman there was Neil Young.
Holy smokes.
Because he was recording that record that he did in the Third Man Records booth there, where you can do
that's right.
The recordo booth, or what they call it, where you essentially he had to do 2 takes for every song because it would cut off after like a minute and a half or something like that. But yeah, we heard that story. We thought it was so cool that it was just Neil Young having lunch next to you.
Yeah, it's probably nice that both Eric and Neil Young in those situations probably just got to feel like what it was to be normal for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Too cool. Well, thanks, Levi, for sending that in. And if you out there have an awesome would you rather for us to answer, we would love to hear it. So send it our way, okay? Tony is going to get us through this, our thank yous, and then we're going to say goodbye to our pals at Coppersound. Tony Baloney, do it.
Alrighty. Well, we like to thank a special group of people each and every episode. This is, I guess you would call it a sponsorship, if you will, a Patreon of the arts. So if you would like to help support this podcast, go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, and you will find a couple of different levels in which you can participate, become a patron of the arts of the podcast, this very podcast. Each level comes with some really great thank you gifts, including things like t-shirts and barefoot buttons and, oh my gosh, keychains. Oh, keychains. Yes, stickers. And
flashlight pedals.
And flashlight.
If you're at the right tier.
At the right tier.
Coppersound flashlight pedals.
Yes.
No octaves on those. Sorry, guys.
Yes, I'm going to change mine to an octave flash. But Octavius. But anyhow, the level that we love the most would be our executive.
We love
producer.
them all the most, Tony.
We do. Okay, we love them all, but we love these guys the most. At least I do. Todd loves everyone.
Right.
I can say that.
Tony and I are biased.
One of the things that happens when you get to the executive producer level is you get all that great stuff. But Jared, what happens?
Well, you get to have your name read on the thing.
The name read on the thing, and that's what I'm doing right now. Deep breath in, deep breath out, and here we go. Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Englund, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Brett Alexander, James White, Matt Hart, Liam Martin, James Pennington, Richard Kendall, Levi Main, Ty Harmon, John Williams, and Michael DeLucio.
Yeah.
He's our newest executive producer.
That's correct.
Welcome aboard, Michael.
Welcome.
Oh, but wait. There's more. There's more because just a step up from the executive producers is a level that we call our grand.
It's the next floor, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the next floor, if you
They're
will.
in the clubhouse, man.
They're on the rooftop. They're in the penthouse, so to speak. These are our grand poobahs. And part of the fun package that they get is they get a fez to wear. And I do believe it is required that they wear the fez while listening to the podcast. Is that right, Todd?
Yep.
They do.
And in case the lights go out, they also get a Coppersound flashlight pedal.
Correct. Among many other things.
Among many other things. So without further ado, thank you to these grand poobahs, Mr. Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S. Tommy Manasco, Mark Garton, Christopher Marshall, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Zach Melton, and Tim Novak.
All right. Thank you all, one and all, so very much at all levels. We truly, truly appreciate it. Yeah. Now, let's see here. Coppersound, fellas, where can people go buy your things, this pedal in particular?
This pedal is available through Third Man Records at thirdmanstore.com. As of right now, we will not be selling Triplegraph directly, but we are selling it through Third Man along with them. So again, if you go to thirdmanstore.com, you'll be able to find it in their catalog along with the other pedals and products that they offer.
We'll also have it on our site as well with corresponding links, so you can go directly from our site right over to Third Man Store as well.
Right on.
You're right. And while you're on the Coppersound site, you better take a look at some of the awesome pedals that they make. They've got a great lineup of pedals. Very, very well built and sound fantastic. So thank you guys. Let's see here. Tony Baloney.
Yes. How would people like to get in touch with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's say we send them over to pickguardian.com and have them take a look at some of the wares that I offer. See some of the stuff I've done, projects I've worked on. But a lot of what I do is custom, so drop me an email. Let me know what you need. I will work out all the details and make something special just for you.
Perfect. Jared, how about yourself?
Well, if you need some pickups or you need one of your favorite pickups repaired, go to brandonwoundpickups.com. Check out the pickups that I have to sell or buy a rewind. They're only $30 a coil. And plus, I'm going to have a little show now called Rewind Time with Brandon Wound Pickups in my messy shop. It's going to be
Fantastic. You can send me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can send me a DM on Instagram, and we would love to hear your would you rathers and other things you'd like to share with us. We love getting your correspondence. Thank you so much. And hey, everybody, we just need to have a huge thank you to Coppersound right now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for producing one of the most unique pedals in all of pedal history.
That's right.
Well done.
Really appreciate you guys letting us come on and tell the story. It's very nice of you. So thank you.
You bet. All right, everybody. Go check this pedal out. Have a fantastic guitar weekend. Subscribe!
Yeah.
You're totally roboting, bro. Yeah. It's
Oh, hey, are we allowed to talk about the Triplegraph today?
That's what the whole thing's about.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure because
We're here for the big show, Tony.
Big one.
Yeah.
What's your safe word, Todd?
Mine's
Tony.
watermelon.
Jacques Blanc.
Jacques Blanc. I like that. That's even
Yeah,
better.
that's a pedal name right there, Jacques Blanc. If I say more, stop.
That's a fun segment for a different show.
Depended upon, or God dang it!
Oh, you were doing so well.
Yeah.
Hit number
Hey,
three.
do it again. Do it again.
All right.
do it.
Hey,
I think it's a French speed skater.
The thrill is gone.
Tony,
Yes,
you there?
I am.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.